Virat Kohli addressed a press conference earlier today, and that he said more than a few curious things. First, that he hadn't been told at any stage by the selectors or the BCCI officials that he would be removed from the ODI captaincy. He was spoken to just an hour and a half before the test selection meeting. It's not just that, he said more things that Saurav Ganguly, the BCCI president, had never requested him to step down from T20I captaincy. Sambit Bal and Nagraj Gollapudi are with me. Let's start with the first of those gentlemen, assuming that Kohli hadn't been told about the ODI captaincy. Should the selectors have told him? Is that what the protocol should be? Or are the selectors just mandated to do it their way? Sambit, do you want to go first?
I mean, the selectors are not obliged to tell him. Selectors are there to do their job, and their job is to pick the captain, and their job is sometimes to drop a captain. But given the dynamics, given where the Indian cricket is right now, given that Kohli had been the captain for 5 years, I think it just, wow, communication never hurts unless we don't know the full story, and we will never perhaps know the full story because we haven't heard from the selectors, and it's unfair for us to comment on what they did and how they did it. But what we know right now from the outside, it looks messy. It doesn't look good. Yeah. It doesn't, and I know that sort of succession or change of guard is not always completely smooth, but I think everybody should make every effort to make it smooth. Given that both Rohit and Kohli will be in both the teams. Kohli is going to be in the one-day team. Rohit is going to be in the test team. So I think it doesn't hurt to go that extra mile to make the communication clear and smoother.
So that's something, Naga. You've obviously followed the BCCI much more closely than many of us. Communication hasn't been the strong point, has it?
No. Where do you think I've got my gray hair from? You don't know who to trust. Firstly, it's quite bizarre, the sequence of events that happened from September, starting with Kohli's decision to announce on the eve of India's T20 World Cup campaign that he's stepping down as T20 captain, only as T20 captain, and then today he reveals that he had a word with the selectors as well as the BCCI's top brass, and they seem to have agreed with his decision. But then, which means he's pointing the finger at them, saying that you had more than 2 months to tell me whether you agreed with my other point about carrying on as ODI and as the ODI and Test captain, and they seem to have understood his point of view. So what was their point of view? We still don't know. He is not revealing. But he does say that he understands where they are coming from. When they appointed Rohit as the white ball captain, it was a logical decision in his own words. Yeah. So if he's understanding all these things, why could it not be easily communicated? Even if BCCI President Saurav Ganguly said that he had spoken to Kohli and he had asked personally Kohli not to step down as T20 captain. So if that conversation did happen, and according to Kohli, it never happened, he's saying that.
So there was Saurav Ganguly speaking at one point, Virat Kohli addressing the press conference today. It becomes a lot of he said, she said, doesn't it, Nagraj, especially when it comes to the Ganguly and Kohli issue. You don't know who to trust, exactly like you said. And I mean, of course, we don't assume anyone is lying, but when two people in positions of responsibility, authority say opposite things, like we were saying, you don't know who to believe.
Yeah, and this is another example and another opportunity now for BCCI to reset the communication channels, especially when it comes to selection matters. Allow the chairman of selectors to address, take the questions, because then there is more transparency as to exactly what's happened. We haven't heard in the last, since Chetan Sharma took charge, I think he's only addressed one press conference while announcing the T20 World Cup when he sat with the BCCI secretary, and that was the only time. We don't know. So we don't know what the selectors were thinking. We know that only BCCI decided to have a word with Kohli when Ganguly decided to say those things. Now, why did Ganguly get in why did Ganguly need to kind of pitch in? He's the BCCI president. Whereas then people can say that, where is the independence of the selectors? Is the BCCI imposing itself? Is it getting involved in these selection decisions? I mean, these are questions that are going to come up, and as Sambit said, that's why this is messy.
On the one hand, you've got Saurav Ganguly. I'm sure there are more players involved in various ways, but there's Saurav Ganguly, BCCI president, and there's Virat Kohli, currently only Test captain, and there doesn't seem to be a clear communication channel between them. That doesn't sound good.
I mean, it doesn't sound good at all. It doesn't sound good for the BCCI president to say something, and the captain in a press conference virtually contesting that claim. So it doesn't sound good at all. And I can and you have a new coach who just taken over, and I don't know how Rahul Dravid is making of all these things, but it's not, when you go on a tour with all these things hanging on your head, and that's how the whisper campaign starts. That's how people start, all kinds of things get said, and all these things reaches the team.
That's what. And Kohli did respond to a few of those things, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think the bigger question right now is like Kohli is, if you look his choice of words, inaccurate, this will not derail me. I am going to support the vision. He's obviously wanting to play the victim here, clearly. But whichever way we look at it, yes, Dravid's challenge right now, of course, is how do I kind of, have Kohli on the same page, understand him, because it's also like
exactly that, Nagraj. How do you
even if he's not the leader, he's still part of the leadership group. So absolutely. Can we have them? Can he get Kohli's confidence? Can he make Kohli trust him? Those are the questions that actually we should be asking.
Can Dravid trust Kohli? I mean, it works both ways, right? Does Kohli trust Rohit? Does Rohit trust Kohli? It's many equations at play.
Yeah. I mean, this was easily avoidable in the sense that Kohli might have not agreed with the decision to drop him as captain, and he could have felt aggrieved. But that's fine. The selectors are there to make a decision, and they should have made that decision. And I also felt that when Kohli stepped down from T20 captaincy, he should have also stepped down from ODI captaincy. The decision is right. I don't think anybody is arguing. In fact, even Kohli is not arguing that the decision is not right. It's just that you needed to manage that decision right. I can also understand that if the selectors did not decide it then immediately and they decided it last week, that's fine. The selectors can take some time to make a decision, and you can't say that they should have decided it 2 months ago, or why did they not decide it then? But how sensitive this topic is, and it's if selectors are also managers of Indian cricket, and you got to manage it well. And they haven't managed it well. I don't know whether it's selectors, whether it's a board, whether it's the president, whether it's the secretary. We don't know anything. But it's not been managed well. That's all we can say.
Certainly not. Naga, last one to you. I mean, I'm not being mischievous, but Saurav Ganguly, Rahul Dravid, a bit of a controversial captaincy situation. It's not new to Indian cricket. If I can ask you for a bit of perspective, keeping historical perspective, perhaps, how do you expect this to pan out now? Do you expect peace, calm cricket, or things can go wrong as they did roughly 15 years ago?
I mean, we all know when it comes to Ganguly, there's a lot of, there's never anything black and white. Yeah. So there are a lot of gray areas, and Dravid knows how to kind of deal with them. He has dealt with them both as a captain, as a teammate. But more importantly, I think to bring Dravid on was also, Ganguly played a big role because, so they do have a lot of respect for each other. They have difference of opinions in the way they look at things, maybe, but that's fine. But I don't think Ganguly is going to get involved with Dravid's way of doing things. He doesn't have any sort of. Then it kind of once again raises the question: why would he bring Dravid? Because he was one of the first chosen candidates, other than Ricky Ponting, and for this important position. So. I don't see any sort of mischief Ganguly really will play, or rather, his thing is him and BCCI wanted to get involved because they are very keen for India to win a world tournament. Even before he became president, even when he was a commentator, Ganguly always said that there are certain things missing about in Indian cricket, the way it's going, and they are not winning those big pressure moments. And he gave Kohli and Shastri the time to kind of their time to kind of, okay, fine, you do things your way and see whether they can win it. And they didn't win it. They didn't win it in 2019 World Cup, and they couldn't do it in 2020. And possibly that's when BCCI decided now we have to impose ourselves, and that maybe back the selectors and the selectors. And this conversation was going on for a while. It's not like abrupt. Even if Kohli says that it's 1.5 hours before, I was told the conversation was going on. It would be, I think he would agree that he knew this was coming, and he agrees in a way. So, if you read between the lines, so what should have been an easier decision and conveyed easily and clearly as just a given on media, more kind of more ammunition now for media to kind of have a debate and arguments about for and against.
We shouldn't be complaining.